we're in the week of Thanksgiving. We're getting close to the end of the year. And that's when everyone is thinking about gifts for their loved ones. And it's not just loved ones, it's not just on a personal level, but you also see a lot of corporate gift giving this time of year. And I think that good food founders are probably getting a lot of requests from large corporations, small businesses, gift giving sites, even individuals who just want to place like a really big order. They often expect wholesale prices, or at the very least, a discount, right, on the standard retail price. And we've been getting the question a lot around the community. Should I give this type of customer wholesale pricing?
It's such a good question. It is one that we hear a lot around the community. And I think it becomes a popular question this time of year. But what we'll talk about, like in response to that question, I think can be applied all year round for sure. Wholesale implies that someone wants to buy your product in bulk or in high volume, right? And when someone does that, they typically want a discount of some sort, right? They don't want to pay your published retail price. In some cases, people are coming for gifting purposes, right? So they're not going to be reselling your product or a product, but they're going to be gifting it. And in some cases, we see a lot of like gift giving sites, right? Those websites that bundle products in, and then resell that bundled group. We get a lot of inquiries from those types of businesses around the holiday season as well, where they are going to be reselling your product in some way. And I think that that's an important distinction to make, that wholesale customers or bulk buying looks different. Like there are a lot of different ways, that it can look. And there are many types of wholesale accounts, right? And I think I want to say this too. If you're a CPG brand, this applies to you. If you're a meal delivery business, this applies to you. Whatever kind of food business you are, I can almost guarantee that someone is going to come to you at some point and say, I want to buy a lot of your product. And can I get a discount? And my first like kind of response to the founder when they bring a question like this to me is whatever the customer thinks is a lot of product may not actually be a lot of product or enough product to warrant a discounted price, right? It's like first and foremost. And so there's typically a list of 3 questions that I will ask a founder to determine whether or not someone should get wholesale pricing or some level of discounted pricing. Okay. So the first question is this person buying more than your typical direct to consumer client? And or are they buying as much as your typical wholesale customer would buy? If the answer is no, then it doesn't warrant a discounted price and it doesn't warrant a wholesale price for sure. The second question is, are they ordering or are they willing to order in a way that creates efficiency in your production? And this is a big one, right? So I'm going to use the example of a meal delivery business here, right? So let's say that you make a batch of mac and cheese and that, makes a serving for 6. Well, you can't, even if someone wants to come and buy a ton of mac and cheese, if they're wanting it to serve 32, that's not convenient for you, right? I would require them to order in servings of 6, right? Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Likewise, for a CPG brand, think about your case size, think about your batch size, right? So, like if you have a case of 6, have the customer order in units of 6. If you make a batch of, let's say, 10 pounds of your product at a time, maybe they need to buy a minimum of 10 pounds, right? So just think through, are they buying in a way that makes my job easy and seamless? Are they buying according to our wholesale purchasing standards? And if the answer is no, then they probably don't qualify for that wholesale pricing. Another way to think about this, and this is where that gift giving company kind of comes into play, and corporate gifting kind of in general. A lot of times people will say, okay, well, I'll buy a full batch. I'll buy that full 10 pounds of your product, but we want it to be packaged in a special little bag with our logo sticker on it. and we want like so many units, of your product like in each little bag. Okay, that's a custom order. Yes, they're ordering according to your purchasing minimums, but then they're customizing the order, which is its own thing, right? And you have to take into consideration the coordination for that, the man hours, to put that special product together. So asking yourself these questions, I think, is really important and will pinpoint you in the direction of whether or not this truly is a customer who deserves wholesale pricing. And here's the other thing I'll say too. You may have someone who is coming to you and they're going to order 3 cases, or they're going to order a batch worth like in bulk, right? But they're going to do it one time. They're not going to be doing it weekly or monthly like a typical wholesale account. So it's also perfectly fine to discount their price a bit, but not go as far down in pricing as your typical, wholesale accounts are getting. Kind of meet in the middle between your full retail price and what you would typically charge a wholesale customer.
So, Sarah, it sounds like what you're saying is that wholesale pricing is really only appropriate for customers who are ordering enough of your product, right, in the right batch size, in a way that is easy to deliver and isn't creating like confusion or stress or more workload on you or your team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'll just reinforce one more time that when someone is buying more than one unit of your product, right? When they're buying more than they would typically buy in a single purchasing session, they're going to think that they qualify for wholesale pricing. But as the founder, it's your job to ask yourself these questions and determine the pricing that is right for you based on the work that the order is creating for your team.